Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason. Today we're mixing it up just a little bit and taking a look at a 3 versus 3. Now this one was submitted over on the Brightworks Discord channel, which there's a link to down below in the description section, but apparently a pretty epic match. So I'm excited to see what we have starting today as our blue commander, who goes by the name of Nebuchadnezzar the second, I suppose, going to be representing the blue team here, spawning a little bit further in the backline. Not that there's really a hard backline, maybe an air spot could be argued here, but certainly going to be a little bit weird with the lineup of the red team, who will zip on over to. Representing the red team is an Armada commander who goes by the name of Ninja Looter. Going to be stealthily looting the win from the blue team, I don't know. Red team leader here, going to be going vehicles right on the front line here, so you can see already quite a disconnect between the way that the red team is organized and the way that the blue team is organized, with essentially all three red players on the front lines and ready to rip and roar and get down to business, whereas the blue team, yeah, a little bit more front and back. It'll be interesting to see. Obviously, Nebuchadnezzar cannot afford to go directly into tech here. We're going to need to see at the very least some constructors moving forward to claim these metal extractors here. We're going to need some defenses set up, and we're going to need to see some units. So it's not like this is a hard tech roll, but certainly a little bit better protected by his teammates. Now, also, it's not like these couldn't be claimed by either one of these teammates here, S Leopard or Cyber Hippie. Either one of them could claim these extra metal extractors that would have been the blue players on the front line here, and then just have a fabulous frontline units composition. Yeah. Not the end of the world, but it does take you a little bit of time to get that up and running, and you have to be comfortable playing with higher metal values. Means you produce more units, means you need more energy. That whole cycle escalates quite a bit, so getting used to that, definitely tricky. Now, as far as true skill values go, definitely on the lower end here. Gonna be a little bit of a lower end duel, but that's okay. Always happy to check out a range of skill levels. And also, keep in mind that oftentimes those OS values don't necessarily reflect where a player is at. More or less, sometimes those can be a little bit inaccurate. We do have grunts moving forward here. Ticks have been deflected quite nicely. Yeah, Rascal's trying to keep up with them anyways. So strange how the Ticks always seem to win out against the Rascals and the Rovers, despite being worse in every way, in basically every measure. Somehow, the Tick still manages to fly. No, wait, that's Bumblebees I'm thinking of. Yeah, the Tick still manages to take down Rovers and Rascals essentially every time that it gets into a fight with them on equal terms. Oh, thought he was going to get the mechs right there. Very, very nice scout at the very least, going to find out exactly where S Leopard is. They didn't find the blue base over here, which should be a little bit concerning, setting off some red flags right here for the red team. Grunts moving around right here. This is the difference between those 8v8 games all the way down to the 1v1 games. Somewhere along the line, grunts and pawns and all those early game units become much more important. Sending those little hit squads around to try and take out metal extractors becomes very, very important. It's something that the 1v1 pro players are extremely good at, is managing big armies of grunts and managing whether or not they'll be effective against static defenses. All that sort of stuff. Very difficult to figure out, you know, quantitatively, but once you're pretty good at the game, apparently it becomes almost second nature, as far as I've heard from some of those really high-level pros. The 1v1 pros, I mean. Yeah, grunts gonna be in a favorable matchup against all those rovers right there. Not necessarily the best unit for the job. I think maybe a couple of blitzes might be what we need right here. Love the new graphics on these. Every time I click on one of these menus and see the new graphics, I'm so thrilled. Yeah, gonna get a constructor for the troubles here. Beautifully done. Yeah, constructor not repair microed right there, so that constructor will go down. A little bit of a bumper, but Ninja Looter was already on top of it. Produced another constructor, maybe preemptively. We might have expected to lose a constructor there and managed to preemptively make up for the loss right there, which is quite cool. Rover's still being aggressive over here, and I love it. The blue team doing so much damage. Whether it's actual damage or just psychological damage, keeping the red team on the defensive foot, going to make sure that they can't really contribute as much aggression as I'm sure that they would like to. For instance, not taking advantage of this high ground over here. Definitely going to be a little bit of a malplay here from the red team. Here go a bunch of pawns running on through. Now there's plenty of grunts to deflect this. Grunts and incisors going to be blasting away at a whole bunch of these units that are trying to run on by, but at the very least it is slowly tipping the odds back towards the favor of the red team. Keeping that balance of aggression and defense pretty much slanted towards the aggression side. Almost always what you want. Pardon me. Aggression, much easier and much more profitable than defense in this game. Almost always better to take advantage of killing your enemy and using their corpses to build a bigger army, rather than losing your army and using your resources to rebuild your army. It seems very simple, but it's essentially the game loop of Beyond All Reason. Yeah, this Leopard setting up some static D up on the little plateau here, a little connecting land bridge. Yeah, more units trying to push through here. That hero LLT is blasting them down though. You know what? Blitz is not going to be enough either. The commander is in position as well to rebuild that middle extractor and repair that turret. So I think that little land lock over there for the red team will hold. Economy so far. Whoa. Pardon me. I rushed right home to record this video, but I guess I should have taken a little more time cooling down after the day's work. Economies is what I was going to talk about before being so rudely interrupted vis-a-vis Lekoff. Pardon me. The economies have skyrocketed upwards here. You can see the red team expanding quite dramatically. Already up towards around 50, although going down now with this nice little grunt run by. I always self-deed these. Not actually going to be necessary. Okay, we're going to self-DM just in case here. Yeah, probably not a bad idea, actually. There's a lot of LLTs over here that would have cleaned them up, so self-D'ing them may be the most cost-efficient way of getting rid of those. But you know what? With that damage, the economy is going to be slanted ever so slightly, and with the aggression coming right through the middle of the map, yeah, this is beautiful. Red team taking advantage of a wide open section at the middle of the map will manage to sneak a whole bunch of units through and do a bunch of damage to our green player. We have a big thug push coming up right here from the blue commander. Thug's obviously quite slow, but once they get to the front line, they'll be quite stalwart. Cyber Hippie in a lot of trouble. Forced to pull the commander back to the base. Commander needs to address these medium tanks, but the multi-prong aggression absolutely shuts down the green commander. Left to his own devices with no support from his teammates, it's a 2 versus 1, and down goes all that the green commander holds near and dear. At the very least, the geothermal is up and running, but look at that bank, my goodness. Thousands and thousands of metal in the bank, as well as energy, all that production, all that metal and energy production, and what is it good for if you can't spend it and put it out on the field? Cyber Hippie desperately needs to lock onto this lab and start pumping out units ASAP. We need blitzes, we need medium tanks, we need just about all of it. The green commander idle here for just a little bit. All right, maybe a little bit new to the game. Maybe a little bit new to the game, but at the end of the day, learning things the hard way. Definitely a viable strategy here. What's our queue looking like? 1 blitz to 2 rovers. Probably going to need to start investing heavier into the blitzes. 1 medium tank goes down. LLT having a field day blasting this medium tank apart. Oh, D-gun, D-gun. Ooh, D-gun manages to split the difference and hit nothing. Honestly, a little bit more impressive right there, actually. And away go those pawns. Oh, those cheeky buggers managed to sneak their way out of the factory right here for Cyber Hippie after doing so much damage. Eventually deflected, but my goodness, that hurts. Whole bunch of blitzes sneaking through from the red team, and you know what? The blue team had the aggression on the first half of this game right here, but after just a couple of run-bys, suddenly, this is completely turned in the favor right here of the red. Beautiful back and forth. It's one of the things I love about these lower skill, sorry, not lower skill, lower player lobbies, the lower player games. The 5v5s, 3v3s, that sort of thing. Each individual player has much more of an impact on the game, and also obviously you get much more economy out of your map, your position on the map. So you end up actually using a whole lot more of the resources per person rather than when you're playing in an 8v8 and it's all split 8 different ways. Nebuchadnezzar with a little bit of a bad attitude cries out GG 2 versus 3. Certainly for the time being, it absolutely looks that way. Without Cyber Hippie's production well underway here, this is not going to look good. We have a couple more blitzes coming up here. Medium tanks rolling on through. No air transitions or anything like that out of the backline here. It's one potential we've seen quite a lot here, especially some of those 5v5 matches, the pro 5v5 matches. Very powerful strategy indeed, just to go for a couple of shuriken off of a successful frontline push. I think these thugs have definitely locked it down for the blue commander, so it would make a whole lot of sense to use that backline position here to go for some shurikens. Could absolutely save the green player from a second time around the devastation train, but I don't think that's going to be the case. Medium tanks slipping on through, and just like that, Cyber Hippie's base will be ravaged once more. Medium tanks from the Cyan commander will at the very least be pulled to try and help out the poor green commander. But unfortunately, it's just a little too late. Now the D-guns could be ripe. 1 tank goes down, two and 3 more go down. Oh, okay. This is what we're looking for. Tanks have stalled out here. Yep, D-gun those away, and I think you're in a good spot. Just don't die for it. There we go. D-guns do connect, and just like that, that is thousands and thousands of metal going right down the drain right here for the orange commander. So it's not worth turning a blind eye to. It's certainly worth something. Beamer turret here also melting through that thick armor plating. Lovely stuff here. You know I'm a big fan of the beamer turret. Wouldn't mind a transition right here from Cyber Hippie. Since the lab has gone down right now and we're already overflowing tons and tons of resources, wouldn't be the worst idea to maybe just go for a tech transition, go into some of those bots, use them to resurrect any of these vehicles that are left in ruin around the base here, and then use the superior bot numbers to eventually overwhelm the enemy. Thug push, finally making it to the front lines. Feels like these haven't really gotten the value they should, though. The value in the thug push comes from the res bots and the ability to push forward with them indefinitely. We have a full-blown T2 transition underway right here, by the way, from the blue commander. Deciding instead of aggression here, just going to go for an economic advantage. That's essentially what all T2 transitions work towards, is getting that T2 economy up and running. Some nice commander kiting over here. Kazaa actually caught out in the open. These medium tanks are microed properly. This commander is dead as a doorknob. And Kazaa wants the D-gun, but not going to get it. Excellent kiting right there from the blue command, the cyan commander, I should say. Manages to take down the orange commander. Very, very nicely done. There's a constructor here we can pull to go eat up that wreckage, but that commander death immediately necessitates a pull from everybody on the red side of the team. You can see the red players have a strategy here, and it's to essentially build up a mass of units and then throw them in the face of everybody over here. If Cyber Hippie were to cloak the commander and put it right here on this ridgeline, it would catch every single ball of tanks that's coming through right now and completely invalidate this entire strategy, effectively wasting thousands and thousands of metal from the red team. Thugs look like they're getting ready to march forward. It's about time. These thugs have been out on the field for so long. Let me just quantify this for you. 2,300-ish metal for the blue commander sitting on the front line and not being traded out for effectively anything. The whole purpose of building those thugs, as opposed to just building grunt spam, is that you have this durability to push into tanks, push into static defenses, all that stuff, and then eventually pick those units back up and continue pushing with them. That's the whole point of going for a thug push here. So finally, it looks like we're going to send these forward right here. But certainly doesn't look like this is going to be very efficient. I don't see any res bots here. We're missing that oh-so-critical point to the equation here. Res bots are available for the yellow commander, so this is going to look fabulous. Yeah, those medium tanks that were just brought down going to be joining the yellow army ever so shortly here. Constructors were pulled way too slowly here and eventually do die as well. Riot tank might be in just the right position. Oh, okay. A little bit of a stare down right here. Riot tank's very, very nearsighted, but the rover at the very least scouts these. We're just looking at each other right now. Oh, I can't believe we pulled that trigger right there. Okay, sending the pawns into the riot tank. Definitely not the most efficient move right there, but it works. Eventually the riot tank does fall. At the end of the day, it's just but a single riot tank. Cyber Hippie definitely unaware of build power. What you want to do in this situation is reach for these bad boys, the construction turrets. Static build power. Very, very good. Very powerful. T2 is up and running. We do have Fiends under production right here, but they're not quite out on the field yet. Fiends could clean this up quite nicely, but we're right in the middle of that T2 transition right here. And the red team, once again, just pushes forward, and a little bit of aggression goes so long. As far as the distance, anyways. This is not a groundbreaking push. This is nothing that the blue team couldn't have seen coming with a little bit of scouting. In fact, this is something the blue team absolutely saw coming. But it just struck at exactly the right timing. Yeah, T2 mechs is coming underway here, but not quite finished. Those T2 mechs absorb essentially your entire T1 economy. You can see 640 metal apiece. Means you have to basically pour everything, your heart and soul, all into that T2 economy if you want to get it up and running in a timely manner. And you should. But it does mean you're completely without defenses on the front lines here. This is a nightmare. Luckily, the thugs have done some damage over here. The commander has gone down over here as well in the middle of the red facility. So at the very least, we've taken out one of the big producers. But I'm not sure if it's going to justify losing an entire base in the backline over here. Eventually, those fiends will hit the field and start mopping all of this up. Yeah, Janice's medium tanks, all of it will burn. But my goodness, the devastation is already wrought. One thing that might get our team back into the game here is just handing out a couple of Twitchers. Two or three Twitchers per teammate. Boy, that's a tongue twister. 2 or 3 Twitchers per teammate. Yeah, that's a good one. Have to throw that one in the official Beyond Our Reason Discord. That's also linked in the description down below. There's a lot of good links down there. You should definitely check it out. I know the description is kind of antiquated these days, but I do hide some good stuff down there. Also a cheeky one-liner or two every once in a while as well, so definitely give it a look. Twitcher's very powerful, very, very high build power to metal ratio, and can build a lot of the really useful stuff. Case in point, metal extractors, solar panels, Twin Guard laser towers, persecutors, all sorts of really, really powerful stuff. Stuff you absolutely want in your composition, as far as whether it's a base composition or a aggressive composition. Not to forget, they can also build... Wow, I really ought to get that checked out. They can also build fiends, which are quite powerful, as we're about to see. Yeah, medium tanks rolling forward. Oh, self-D, self-D. Oh, the self-D. Ah. If you self-D those fiends just at the last minute, they become extremely valuable because of the AoE damage they can do in a big old burst, especially to big clumps of medium tanks like this. That is exactly how you want to use them. Essentially like walking kamikaze bombers. One by one, though, these fiends are not going to be able to do all too much. I really do apologize for that. 1 second. It's really awkward, right? I have to mute the microphone, but I know there's a little bump, so professional casting brought to you live. I'm on a bit of a time crunch here too because I was busy all day, so I'm getting this recorded just about before it has to go live, almost immediately before it has to go live, so hopefully I can get it uploaded on time here. Sometimes not the case though. You'll just have to forgive me. We're doing it live, and just like that, the Cyan Commander is wiped out of this game. Completely wiped out of this game. No more constructors, no more build power. A single laser turret with no energy to fire it. We are so dreadfully behind right here for the blue team. The only advantage here being this T2 transition, but these T2 units haven't quite gotten their value out. They're trading efficiently against the T1s, but if we're not using the metal from those T1s in order to rebuild here, then the entire advantage is wasted. I think Twitchers could be the recovery here. 2 Twitchers to the Cyan Commander, as well as a metal extractor and some energy power, wouldn't be the energy power. Some wind power wouldn't be the end of the world here. Would probably help rebuild the Cyan Commander almost immediately. It's the kind of thing you have to be aware of, especially in these lower player games. You can't afford to have one player just not doing anything. It's a whole third of your team's total APM just essentially sitting there and spectating. Definitely something to be really cautious of. That is true, by the way, for 8v8 games as well, but especially magnified when you step into games like this. 3v3s, all that sort of thing. Fiend's eventually going to deal with these medium tanks, but my goodness, those medium tanks are so difficult to stop. They're just so beefy. Eventually burned to a crisp right here, but my goodness, their trail of devastation has been tremendous. There we go. We have a construction turret up at the very least, singular construction turret up, but at the very least we're going to start up a bot lab here as well. Green player banking a whole lot of metal, not putting it on the field. Slowly this is turning into a 1 versus 3. S Leopard asking for some units to micro and a con. Yeah, that's exactly what you want to be asking for here. Something was handed over. Oh, there we go. Constructor was handed over on the northern side. Might as well just hand over the commander, actually. No reason for that commander to be under the blue possession right here. Might as well just use it to rebuild the base over there. The blue team's sitting on so much metal, though. You can see the red team has absolutely no metal in the banks, whereas the blue team has tons and tons of metal right here. The advantage only expresses itself if you actually spend the metal, so unfortunately, despite the blue team's tremendous economic advantage, I mean, I say that, they have the same amount of metal per second, but that's only kept in equilibrium because of some of these T2 mexes here. And I have a feeling that number is going to continue to decrease as more and more units come across the field. That advantage only expresses itself if you manage your reclaim and you manage to rebuild those metal extractors. I am glad to see that S Leopard's been handed some constructors, so we'll be rebuilding a couple of those metal extractors here. Hopefully we can keep the production high, though. Fiends are an absolute must-have. There we go. A Twitcher has been produced over here. Lovely stuff. Oh, medium tanks aiming for that build power. Yeah. Take down the build power. Take all that build power down. It makes this very inconvenient for the blue player. Luckily for Nebuchadnezzar, they're actually managing to keep that build power alive. Otherwise, this becomes a horrible situation. A little bit of an APM stall here, though. Medium tanks find a big wind turbine field. More than happy to blast that down. Yeah. A couple thousand metal and wind turbines right down the drain. Just because they don't chain react off each other doesn't mean that they don't wink at each other. Just like that, you can see how effective just a little bit of AoE damage can be to eradicate an entire wind turbine field. This constructor's entire life work gone in a moment. It's quite sad, really, isn't it? We have the Twitchers. Send them out. Two of the biggest, most important things about the Twitcher. This Twin Guard Cannon and the Persecutor, not to mention also the Fiend. two of the reasons why the Twitcher is such a powerful unit for Cortex. Well, just in general as well. This is a winnable game for the blue team, but it's gonna require some effort. They're gonna need some elbow grease to get back into this one. The blue team needs to be absolutely on top of it. As for right now, I just don't see it. Twitcher's gonna follow this constructor around, who is gonna go upgrade some of these mexes, so that's good to see. Blue commander, we're neglecting a couple of these units just lying around right here. The reclaim is really the problem that we aren't addressing right now. Now the yellow player has just been on mass tank production for the longest time. You can imagine a very simple T2 transition could also be quite effective here. That's what the orange players opted for. Way slower on the tech transition, and the only reason that the blue team is even remotely still in this game is because of that tech transition. If otherwise that tech transition had not happened, I think the blue team would have been completely out of this, but you can see those T2 metal extractors really are putting in the work, despite this constructor's lack of willingness to move forward. Oh my goodness. Miss micros all over the place. Blitz is running on by here. Fiend's gonna catch a whole bunch of them. There we go. Yeah, the corpse is slowing him down. It is one advantage of the bots, is the corpses from the bots tend to not muck up their pathing quite as brutally as the vehicles do. Can we please make one Twitcher and send it on a reclamation path? Ugh. One Twitcher is all it takes. Janices and missile trucks, kind of an odd composition here. No actual sustain to this. So yeah, yellow commander realizes that immediately and just sends in the medium tanks. Gonna trade out fabulously. Even some heavy tanks here. Lovely stuff. Heavy tanks obviously gonna perform spectacularly against this T1 era medium armor. Yeah, even a Janus missile. Only 13% damage is pretty abysmal for a Janus. Here we go. The Fiends have finally decided to counterattack. And thank goodness they have. This is the only way that the blue team comes back into this. They have to do a huge amount of damage and they have to reclaim all the metal right now. One of the nice things about the Fiend is that they completely destroy themselves when they die. Means that you don't have to worry about your enemy rebuilding them and sending them back in your face. Makes them an ideal assault unit, certainly. Also, they're high DPS and high mobility. Quite good as well. Alright. Well, we shut down a bunch of the forces here. Resbots weren't eventually killed, though, so all this can get back up is the problem. Oh, why aren't we taking out these LLTs? Take down these LLTs and spread this force directly into the base of the orange and the yellow commanders, and I think you've got yourself a win. This is nice. A little bit of aggression from Cyber Hippie. Yeah, okay, gonna send a rover around. That's actually quite nice. Doloft gets destroyed. Fiends jumping on top of that commander. Quite nice. One of the problems with the commanders into the T2 era is that they become extremely squishy relative to the DPS numbers. That's fairly obvious if you think about it for a second, but one of the biggest things that you have to be careful of is as soon as those T2 bots hit the field, T2 vehicles for Armada really, but T2 in basically any sense, just like that. You can see commanders blasted apart just like that. Is this the last commander for the red team? I do believe it is. Yeah, Kazaa holding the very last commander. Two have already gone down. Nebuchadnezzar could absolutely go for the win right here. And gonna go for the Resbots. I don't mind it whatsoever. Those Resbots are absolutely the sustain behind this army. Taking them out, definitely critical. That is a hero Fiend right there. Silver bar to its name. We took down a whole bunch of those Resbots. That's quite nice. More and more Fiends coming up though. I don't think Nebuchadnezzar has realized exactly the position that he's in. If these if these Fiends manage to break through this line and kill this commander, that is it. That is a win on the board right here for the blue team. Production is back up and running right now. By some miracle for S Leopard. We desperately need energy production. This is when you start begging your teammate to hand over some of their solar panels. Maybe start thinking about fusion reactors. Looks like we are. Yeah, we got fusion reactors queued up here. Gonna go for E-converter into fusion reactor. Not the end of the world if you've already got a whole bunch of T1 energy production. Now they're going for the res on those commanders. Oh, you gotta be so careful. Oh no. Dullf's commander is stepping forward. Those Fiends are too powerful. Down goes the commander right there in yellow. And the red team loses it. Clutching defeat from the jaws of victory. What a close match, but not in the kind of way that we typically think about. My goodness. Nebuchadnezzar managing to snipe all three of the commanders as they stand in exactly the same spot. I mean, let's get a good view of that exactly. 1, 2, and 3 commanders in exactly the same location means that the blue team will manage to win this game beyond our reason. Definitely lots to learn in this game, but certainly appreciate the opportunity to take a look over here. Oh, we had a little sneaky air transition as well over here for S Leopard. Very, very nice to see. If you enjoy these 3v3s or any of the off-brand versions of Beyond All Reason as opposed to the 8v8s, I guess, is the standard, let me know about it down below in the comment section. I always love to hear from you guys down below how you feel about different formats and what you think are more or less entertaining. But other than that, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you after I show you the graphs in the next one. Peace out, everybody.